TNT studio, Michael Patrick Shields, Michael Lepp, producer, is here, Tony Cuthbert, too, and a couple of our favorite state representatives, because they're from northern Michigan, where we're heard on WJML and WJNL. Frank Foster from the Pellston area, Republican state representative. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well this morning.
It's 2 degrees here in the capital, and it's 22 below in Pellston, probably. Typically the coldest part in the whole...
At least the coldest place in the Midwest.
Certainly. And, of course, Wayne Schmidt from Traverse City. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
You were sitting here when we were talking to the governor, and you notice how he said he called Michigan a corporation or something like it. He like slipped into it by accident, and then he said state. He is going about this in a business-like approach, and that's kind of, I think, a Freudian slip, isn't it?
I think so, and of course, I think that speaks to what the governor is most concerned with, which is getting Michiganders back to work. And so, with his CPA, his law degree, all of his business achievements, his goal is to make sure that Michigan is creating the kind of jobs that people can stay here for. That we unfortunately have sent away so many young people for so long. He wants everyone to be able to stay in Michigan, have a good job, and enjoy all the things that Michigan has to offer. So that doesn't surprise me.
I think if you take a look at it deeper, he does consider himself the chief executive of the state, and our executives make decisions based on data. And you mentioned he's a lot of data driven. I was looking at an economic survey that he gets every month to look at labor markets in the state that he designed, and he makes it without political persuasion for the most part. And I think that's refreshing in politics, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of Republican governors across the state coming from private business. I think people are ready for people to make tough decisions. Political decisions are easy to make. You just go to where your support is, but this governor makes the tough ones.
That's just it. I mean, he tried, on the surface anyway, to avoid this right to work, because this will now be the major issue in his reelect. Fair to say?
Absolutely. I think this governor's gone a long way to garner support from where we came from when we were balancing budgets in 2011, and this is one of those issues that could probably affect those numbers. But I think he's more cohesive than that. He knows we have things to build in this state, like bridges. He wants to do a regional transit authority in Southeast Michigan. We need union help with those types of things, and he doesn't want to put a divide between the progress of this state and that. And but I think in our minds, workers' freedom is more important, maybe.
The House Minority Leader Hamill is saying that they're going to vote no on everything now as a result of what's happened, even if it's an issue that they support on principle. What do you make of that, either of you?
This is shameful. Sorry, Wayne. But last week we put, and this is something that Wayne Schmidt has been his leading cause is transit in Southeast Michigan. And we put Southeast Michigan is one of the largest metropolitan areas that doesn't have mass transit. People need to get to work in and around Detroit. And we put up, how many times did we put up votes on the board?
We put up enough to pass
Northern
the
Michigan
first three.
guys.
Yeah.
West Michigan guys get on board, and Lisa House, who's running for Detroit mayor, won't vote for it, and others, and that's just they call us shameful. That's shameful.
In her own district.
It's sad, but the unions drive some of those decisions more than what's best for the people of that area, and that's been happening for a long time.
But that is really flying in the face of what public sentiment is right now, isn't it? I mean, we're seeing that with the fiscal cliff. People want to know, why can't you figure it out?
And that's the difficulty. And I understand, the different sides on the right to work, the freedom to choose issue, however you want to call it, and being passionate and putting up the protests, and that's great, and voting no and fighting for that cause. That's fine. But then when you have to separate, and I've had to make that decision, both serving in the minority and in the majority, that, okay, that's this issue. But when it comes to building a bridge to Windsor and developing more international trade, when it comes to a regional transit authority to get people to and from work, they're not as concerned about some of those issues. They want to get to their job, be able to do it in a timely fashion, and that's where you're going to have to say, okay, this is one issue, but this is another. And so it was very discouraging. I see that problem with the Detroit Lighting Authority, and it's easy to speak from northern Michigan on those issues. But the fact of the matter is that when we back those issues, and I've certainly taken enough heat up in northern Michigan for it, we're doing what's best for the state, what's best for southeastern Michigan, because we know how important it is. It's much easier when we talk about tough decisions. It's much easier politically to say, who cares about Detroit? Who cares about southeastern Michigan up north? But that's not the way we operate.
When you see 10,000 or 8,000 or 20,000 people there today, obviously they're not going to change the vote. right? I mean, they're just out there to make pictures and
Part of the process today. But when I think about 10,000 people out there, let's say maybe 4,000 of them are teachers, I think about empty classrooms. I think about the worst school system in the state, Detroit, and with role models in those kids' lives that constantly don't show up, and the families breaking down in some of those regions, and then maybe the only positive figure in their life is going to leave them today to go to the Capitol because they're more interested in their compensation packages than in those kids' educations and future. I think that's really telling. For a long time, we've been wondering what the problem is with Detroit, and we've suspected that maybe it's corruption in the school system, maybe it's teachers that don't have the incentive to be there. But today, I think, is really telling when you have people leaving classrooms and leaving kids unattended to come here and protest something that's going to happen anyway. Patrick Shields.
so that's all politics to have some nice video and get set for the 2014. True?
Yeah.
What about this argument? When somebody says, well, Democrats are all about choice, women's right to choose, how come you can't have the workers' right to choose? I want to pay my union dues, I want to be represented, or I don't. Why don't those fit together?
I think there'll probably be some people on the lawn making that same connection today. For me, it's a life issue, and that's probably greater than anything else. I think we have a duty to protect that life. But when you have a duty to protect someone's choice in the workplace, I think that also extends to personal liberties as well. So I don't have a great answer, but the connection for me, it's not there.
Are you concerned about getting in and out today? What worries you about being in that environment? Anything?
Nothing. And while there's the frustration on the part of labor and everything, 99.9% of those men and women out there, they want to have a job. They want to be able to, in the case of building a bridge or improving our roads, that's their goal. They want to make a living, and I can respect all of that. That's what the governor wants. That's certainly what the Republican team wants. Get people back to work. But they're all, when we had the protests for the emergency managers and everything, all very respectful. These are hardworking men and women. They're not prone to violence or anything. This isn't the 20s or the 30s or what you see in movies. These are honest, upstanding people. They're voicing their rights or on an issue. So no, they're great people. They just want to get back to work, and maybe we're coming at it from slightly different angles. But no, these are very, very good people.
State police does a great job. We can't say enough about the sergeants in the state police and what they do to protect that building and keep us safe. And I don't know how much time you have, but when I think about the protesters today, what that's going to mean for the 107th district, is that going to mean people from around the country that aren't from my district going to bombard my office with phone calls and visits, and then unemployment issues for the 107th don't get done. Department of Human Services things for people don't get done, checks don't get written, and we can't connect people, our constituents, with the departments they need today. So we'll definitely have to play some catch up next week.
Well, they'll sell a lot of sandwiches in Lansing, that's for sure.
Big B's will do well today.
Can you say, or our place right here, Grand Traverse Pie Company, we got a lot of action out here in our studio, and if you happen to be around, stop in and see us. Very quickly, can you say with a straight face that a vote for right to work is not a vote against a union?
Yes.
Absolutely. I think unions will have to become stronger to make play for membership.
Okay. Thank you both very much for so much time this morning. Stop in anytime you need a little break. Come on over here and get comfortable in our AT&T studio. You bet. It's Michael Patrick Shields here this morning with State Representative Wayne Schmidt from Traverse City and Frank Foster from the Pellston, Petoskey area there. All the best. Back in a flash, we're going to talk to Kyle Malin from MERS News. The governor was with us earlier, and much, much more. The mayor of the city of Lansing will be with us coming up, too. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Happy holidays from the Grand Traverse